that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody. I need a weapon. So, it's currently 1 a.m. And I got 3 hours of sleep. So we're doing pretty good. But, couldn't sleep. So, book time. Yeah. Anyway, I finished Halo Contact Harvest by Joseph Staten. Joseph Staten is one of the lead writers of the original trilogy of Halo. He wrote for Halo 1, 2, and 3. I forget if he wrote for Halo Reach, but he wrote for the original trilogy. And this is during the Bungie era. They only made like 5 books during the Bungie era. Every other book that's ever come out has been during the 343 era of Halo. But yeah, I got this for $6 on Thrift Books. That's including shipping. Or no, including shipping was like $9. So that's pretty cool. But this is first contact with the Covenant. So basically, the years 25, 24, we learn that humanity has been in a war against insurrectionists, which we've talked about in previous videos, but that's what they're doing. We get to meet Avery Johnson, who's another big character from the video games, and he's dealing with a lot of things in this book that I don't want to spoil, but a lot of it being the war, and, they're fighting humans, and it's been a long thing, and he's kind of getting tired of it, and that's kind of that plot. He eventually finds his way to the planet Harvest, where he's supposed to help train a militia of people on that planet so that they can protect themselves from insurrectionists if they are to show up. However, on the same token, we have several other stories going on which converge onto planet Harvest, which is the Covenant. We have Dedab, who is an Ungoi, which is a grunt in the video game, but those little guys. And he is a priest, and he's with the Kigyar, which are the jackals. Those are got a lanky, bird-looking boys. And then we also have the brutes. There are a couple Sangheili, which are the elites, but we meet the brutes in this game, or in this book, and we meet Tartarus, who's a big character in Halo 2. But it all kind of converges on Harvest, because there's some Forerunner artifacts there, and the Covenant meets the humans there, and it is the first interaction with them, and of course it's going to lead to war, and it just sets up basically the whole conflict that we see by the time of the games, which is humanity versus the Covenant. And, Avery Johnson's in a very low place at the beginning of this book, and this kind of gives him a new vigor, a new spark of life. Because instead of fighting insurrectionists, which are just humans with opposing worldviews, we have, even though it's not black and white, there's good people in the Covenant as well. But it's a way for him to have a black and white sort of perspective and be like, well, I can stop these guys, and that will give me purpose and motivation. And yeah, it's okay. Not to diss Joseph Staten or anything. I mean, I think he's one of the reasons Halo 2 is so good, because the writing in Halo 2 is superb. I also forgot to mention there's an interesting AI story that's also part of this. There's 2 AIs that work on Harvest, and I don't really want to spoil anything there, but there's some cool stuff there. But I mean, it's written fine. There's a lot of world building here. There's a lot of things that are explained here or introduced here, like slip space and how that works. Characters that we'll meet. Avery Johnson by the end, feeling exactly like Avery Johnson. Getting to meet Tartarus. Jenkins even shows up. Dies in the first game. Like I said, there's a lot of good written world building things. There's a couple good dialogue conversations. It's not bad, but it's also not, I don't know, the greatest thing ever. It's a decent book that will give you a good backstory on how this war even began. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I'm not much of an action guy, so all that kind of like, like I just don't really, I don't vibe with it. I don't get into it. I'm not good with visualizing action scenes. So, I much prefer story and dialogue. And there's enough of that in here, but there's also a lot of fighting, which is just not my cup of tea. Overall, I think this is a fine book. It's pretty solid, not the greatest thing ever, but if you wanted to know how this war that you play in the video games even started, this is your book. Plus, it's the writer of the actual games, one of the writers, so that's also pretty cool. I'm gonna get into spoilers now. Don't want that. There's the door. So, we begin with the botched mission against the Innies, or the insurrectionists. An insurrectionist is holding a lady hostage in like this restaurant or something, but she also has a bomb, and Avery Johnson is meant to shoot her in the head. Sorry, 1 a.m. And he's meant to shoot her in the head, but he hesitates, and the whole building blows up because the insurrectionist blows herself up. So the mission was botched. We also learn about slipspace drives, which was humanity's best invention in the 23rd century. We are currently in the 25th century, so we've had 2 centuries in the past that we don't get to see. We meet 2 AIs named Mac and Sif. Mac is his avatar, I guess you could say, because we have Cortana's avatar. But his is like a cowboy. We have Sif, who's this beautiful lady. And Mac continually flirts with Sif, which is weird because he's an AI. He's not supposed to do that. But we get introduced to another thing here, which is AI rampancy. So in case... Now, execution is different if we want to argue about that for like Halo 5 or Halo 4. That can be debated. But what cannot be debated is we cannot say that the whole AI rampancy thing is a 343 concept. This originated by Joseph Staten, who is the lead writer of the original games. AI rampancy was a thing. It has always been a thing. So... And the way slipspace works is it's not like Star Wars where you can kind of just like zip like that. I mean, there's precise things that super lore nerds that are even beyond me can figure out for Star Wars, but overall it's pretty instantaneous. But in Halo, it's a 6-week trip just to make it to Harvest. Also, the nearest planet nearby that is mentioned to Harvest. I'm sorry. But the closest thing to Harvest mentioned is magical. Now, if you watch the terrible TV show, you have heard of the planet Magical. It's not the same, but I just thought I'd mention it. There is the United Nations of the planet. There's no more United States or anything. There's a uniform government. We cut back to Avery, and he goes back home after being honorably discharged for a bit. Not for, I guess I don't know if it's honorably discharged because it's just for temporary. But Avery's aunt died while he was away, which is another thing because his parents are dead. He doesn't really have any friends outside of the military, and so he has his aunt, and now she's dead. So he's not doing very good here. I mentioned to Deb the Ungoy / the Grunt, who is this priest dude, and he's a pretty interesting character. I also didn't realize Ungoy breathe methane. That's why they wear their little masks. So that was a cool little detail there. We also get to meet the Hergarok, which are those little tentacle boys from ODST. And there's actually a nice little friendship between the Ungoi and Urgrog. We also learned that in the past, before the Jackals or the Kigyar joined the Covenant, that there used to be pirates in their homeworld. That was interesting. We also get a mention of the Ungoi Rebellion, where the Ungoi were unhappy with stuff, and they started fighting back. But what was cool is that the Sangheili, the elites, actually spared their lives, because the Sencheum wanted to just kind of kill them. They saw them as cannon fodder, not very helpful. But the Sangheili had their back. They said, no, we feel kinship with them. We can help them out. So I thought that was nice. We also learned that it will take 3 months for any help to come to Harvest. It's like one of their furthest colonies. So that just shows you how slip space works. It's going to be 3 months before someone can come and help. We get introduced to the Brutes. And we learn that Tartarus had an uncle who used to be in charge. So that was pretty cool. And then later on in the book, the aliens make contact with the humans. We actually have an almost peace accords. And the book isn't clear. We don't know exactly what happened. We don't know if one of the Brutes provoked it, if someone else provoked it. But a human shot his gun, which just caused a whole thing. And the whole thing about it, too, is that the whole thing with the Covenant is that any race is free to join. But yet there are no humans in the Covenant. Why is that? Well, because of Contact Harvest, because their first time talking, they started shooting at each other and killing each other. The humans were banned from ever joining the Covenant. So that's why you never see humans on the bad guy's side in the original games. Tartarus doesn't like his uncle's leadership, so he eventually challenges him to a duel. Recently the Dune movie came out, so the strongest fights. So when Stilgar tried to ask Paul to kill him and he wouldn't do it. So Tartarus fights his uncle and he wins. He kills his uncle and he's now the head in charge. But they don't really save Harvest. They kind of bail and people die. And we get a little bit of characterization for Jenkins, which is really nice, considering he's going to die in the first game. And I know they expand a little bit more about that in the novel. But, he doesn't get much here, but it's nice to get a little bit of characterization for him. And his parents die in the book, which is very sad. But we get a little characterization for him. And everybody Johnson, which is cool, and they escape to go on and fight this war more and save people. And then at the end of the book, Avery bones down. I felt like I was reading a romance novel, and it kind of smut one at that. It wasn't super in detail, but I felt uncomfy. If somebody walks in with me reading this, oof, there's a lady who's interested in, and he does some stuff with her, and it's a bit too descriptive, but it's fine, I guess. I just felt like I was intruding on a personal moment, so it's awkward. But overall, it was fine. It was an okay book. I want to say it's this masterpiece. It's great because it's written by Joseph Staten, and I know he helped make Halo 2 what it was, which is some god tier writing that I've ever heard. To the dialogue, to the story, everything. But it's serviceable. It's fine. I don't think this will be the best that the Halo universe has to offer, but it's a solid read. And if you want to read stories set before the games, this is one to read. So that's gonna be it for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Share episode 10, and wake me up when you need me. Bye-bye.